Listen, TEDx. The truth is, it don't really start pretty. This against the grain thing, it don't really start pretty. It starts, awkward and uncertain and messy and kind of surrounded by darkness. It starts with somebody, like your mom, asking your 7-year-old self, so what do you want to do for a living? And you don't know, so you just say things like, well, okay, what are my options? And she may say, doctor, and you go, no. And she says, okay, lawyer, and you go, no. And she says, well, firefighter, and make a good living, and you say, no. And you kind of telling the world no a whole lot, and the world don't really like that, But you know that your voice is meant for something else. You know your voice is meant to be in the in-betweens. You know your voice is meant to go in the grains. And yeah, it's dark, but you know that this is your real voice. And you know that this is my real voice, right? Because you're sitting right next to me, right? So you know that, right? And y'all know that this is my real voice because y'all are right. But they out in the world, this is dark, right? And they don't know that this is my real voice. So you have no choice sometimes but to be voiceful, loud enough until you finally spark light. Oh, then the world is like, okay, I see you. The world is like, I see you, world. There you are, player. Yeah. Right? And I just got a little prettier, right? I just got a little, it's not as messy. I got a little prettier, right? Right? All right, you know what I mean? Like, you look better when your special light hits you, but that does not make it easy. Okay, let's just be real here, all right? When my light hit me and my voice said poetry, 12 years ago, I quit my last job as a 5th grade teacher and to become not a millionaire in some multi-billion-dollar startup industry or tech or something. No, I quit to become a damn full-time poet. What the hell was I thinking? What? We barely even have a thousandaire industry. So I said, all right, well, I guess I got to make it, right? And then the world was happy to give me back all those no's that I had given it, right? Because the world is the hater, if you don't know that, right? Right? So I said, I'm going to do poetry, and the world said no. And I said, damn that. And I stepped up into the darkness, and I started doing clubs and poetry cafes and colleges, which just watch how the universe works, led me 10 years ago, a decade ago, to perform right here in University of Michigan as a traditional spoken word poet, but the #1 slam poetry champion in the nation, performing my poem When I Grow Up right here on this campus. And that's when I fell in love with University of Michigan. That's when I fell in love with y'all. And Ann Arbor, and but then I was like, nah, but I gotta do something more. And I said, I think I wanna move my voice into business. And the world said, no. And I said, damn that. And I stepped into more darkness, right? And I started doing traditional spoken word poetry for organizations like Nike and other Fortune 5s and helping them make their messages electric, right? And then I started going to conferences, and I saw a trend. I saw this pattern of speaker, artist, singer-songwriter, right? Poet, comedian. And I started asking myself, why at these conferences, not like TEDx, University of Michigan, because they got, this is a brilliant brand, but I'm talking about other conferences, because they merged them well. I started asking myself, why is art the break from the content and not the vehicle for the content, right? Because art is powerful, right? And I said, okay, I got something else to do. And the world said, what? And I said, what? Damn that. And I stepped into more darkness and created my own form of motivational speaking called Poetic Voice that takes inspirational speaking and hacks it with spoken word poetry. And that's when I really got pretty then. Woo! That's when I really hit my shine and my light started to shine on other people because more folks were closer to me now, right? And I started doing keynotes for companies like Google and Mayo Clinic and watch how the universe works. I started doing for companies like Health Media, Vicks company that he told you that he founded, right? And then I started doing it for companies like Sharp Healthcare, right? Kelsey, one of the organizers, her mom's company she used to work at, right? And all these degrees of separation later, 1 decade lived on purpose later, I find myself right back here, a decade later, performing and presenting as the world's leading poetic voice at University of Michigan and reimagining my poem When I Grow Up. And I gotta tell y'all, I ain't done yet. I ain't done yet. No, listen. I got more grain to go against, baby. Okay? I got more stuff to do. I'm creating my speaker training programs now where I train students like Dr. Vic Strecker to use art in his speech to go get them standing ovations that y'all so graciously gave him. Huh? Right? I'm trying to reinvent the poetry video game by releasing videos like The Awesome Anthem, right? Where I help the world as a gift find their own sense of self-worth. Man, I got more dark places to go into, and I don't know how I'm supposed to get there. I don't know if they told me to go to that staircase or that staircase, but you know, sometimes you got to get your frog on, and you got to just leap, right? Sometimes you don't wait for the world to light up the right path. You just make your own light. You know what I'm saying? I'm not waiting for the world to do anything for me except one thing. Ask me now, world. Ask me now. Ask me now, mommy, what I want to do for a living. Am I too late? Because I think I finally figured it out. When I grow up, I don't want to do for a living. I want to be for a living. I want to be life. I want to make things grow and move and breathe, respond and rejoice and receive as soon as I recite. When I grow up, I don't want to be the firefighter. I want to be the fire, right? Not the doctor. No, let me be the cure. I don't want to be the artist. I want to be the art, not the painter, but the canvas, not the poet, but the stanzas, not the choreographer, but the dances. I don't want to be the artist, mommy. I don't want to be the singer. I want to be the sound. The song you sing, the way you sing it when you think, ain't nobody else around. Why be the lawyer when I can be justice? Why the philosopher when I can be the philosophies and brilliant minds, or rather the brilliance in those minds, or even the elusive concepts they can't quite figure out, like purpose, faith, and time. Oh, mommy, I want to be time when I grow up, huh? Right? I want to be time so that the world will go to sleep every night feeling like they never got enough of me. Huh? What? I want to be the antonym of void, the contradiction to silence, the inverse of absence, the reverse of regression, the antilogy to emptiness, the illumination of shadows, the opposite of darkness. Oh, mommy, when I grow up, you let me be the opposite of darkness, so that when the greatest poet in existence recites the first line of the greatest poem ever written, let there be light, then I can begin.